Welcome to another episode of Simple Thoughts. Today I'm going to be talking about a recently controversial figure in the animation industry. Not John K, if you were thinking. Granted, the thumbnail probably gave it away anyway. But it's Butch Hartman. And the reason he's become controversial as of late is because he started this Kickstarter for this streaming service he calls Oaxis. And the reason why it's become so controversial right now is because altogether this whole thing's a shit show. Like, the reason he started this Kickstarter and the way he sells Oaxis, it's just really bad. Like, because he was so vague with what it's supposed to be able to do. Like, in the little presentation video, the way he sells it is he opens up by saying, hey, isn't it bad when you're watching a show with your family and out of nowhere, like, violent scenes pop up, or sex scenes, or some random thing that children shouldn't be subjected to ends up popping up? And at the end of the day, when you're watching this, you're like, that doesn't happen. The reason why that doesn't happen is because we have the, ratings. We have the rating system, TVMA, TV14, PG, Y7, Y, and stuff like that. And then for movies, we got G, PG, PG-13, and R-rated, and NC-17, and X, which of course you shouldn't be letting kids watch that, but I digress. Like, that was the sort of disingenuous thing about it. It's like, yeah, that doesn't happen, man. Like, that's not a real thing where I'm watching a show and somehow random butt sex pops up. And I'm watching with my family. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, if that happens, that's because your stupid ass didn't, pay attention to the description, didn't look up any information about the show, didn't pay attention to the ratings. So the only person to blame on that is you. Like, you're the one to blame for why your kids might have just gotten subjected to butt sex. like it's so stupid because he tries to sell this whole Oaxis streaming service like it's going to be family friendly. We're really going to look out for your family and stuff like that. And it's like, what? And that's the other thing. It's like, he won't answer real questions. Like, people have real concerns about this because it's like, okay, how are you supposed to compete against, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, and also YouTube? Because the thing is about this Oaxis service, he's saying it's going to be able to have user-generated content. Like, you can upload your own content. But the thing is, he's going for family-friendly. So it's like, it's going to be very restrictive, like way more restrictive than YouTube. From what it's sounding like, it's a way more over ambitious because he's saying, oh, it's going to be this big thing. We're going to have reality shows. We're going to have animation, live action sitcoms, gardening for some fucking reason. And it was like, okay, you're going to have all that stuff, but you're saying it's going to be family friendly. How can you guarantee that's going to be entertaining for everybody else? Like, that's just sort of the shady shit, and he just won't accept any real criticism. Like, people ask questions and he's just not answering them. Like, his FAQ page on the Kickstarter, it's not very informative. Like, it does not inform anybody about this service and how it's supposed to be able to compete in such a competitive market as is, And he's selling it like, oh, all these streaming services and channels have all this bad content for children that they just shouldn't be watching. I'm like, Butch, you made Fairly Odd Parents, which had a pregnant man. I don't know if that was okay for kids. Like, Fairly Odd Parents had a lot of violence in it, people getting horribly injured and maimed, and Danny Phantom and Tough Puppy and Bunsen is a Beast. Like, all four of your shows involved characters like doing things that probably that you would think kids shouldn't be subjected to. Hell, you worked on Johnny Bravo, who the main character was a major womanizer. So what are you talking about? So that's where it becomes a disingenuous thing with Butch Hartman on this whole Oaxis thing, because it's like, where are you getting this idea that kids are being subjected to such horrible things that and he's saying the whole family, trying to sell this whole family friendly thing, but he's not being transparent as to what he means by family friendly. Like, what do you mean? And recently, like, I just found this video. It was uploaded back in February, but it was a video of Butch Hartman talking to like this crowd. It was like some type of little announcement thing he was holding, maybe for like shareholders or so. I'm not too sure what it was. All I know is like he was just having like this panel, and he was talking about, like, he just went off on this tangent, and it made no fucking sense. Like he really wanted to talk about Christianity, because if I'm right, he's like a born again Christian. And he really was talking like, it's really bad. There's all the media out there for children. It's just really bad. It's not good for them. And he had the fucking nerve to try to conflate media with suicide for like teenagers and stuff. And it's like, that's not why that those don't connect. A bunch of people are not depressed. A bunch of kids aren't depressed because of fucking media. Like, it's because of shit going on in their personal lives, dude. And he tries to say, well, when I was growing up, kids weren't, you know, killing themselves or committing suicide and stuff like that. I'm like, when you were growing up, times were a little bit better. So, of course, kids weren't, you know, that depressed. But now, of course, kids are going to be a bit more in a more of a rough spot. And so when he talks about it in the little panel, he's saying, he said like, oh, the reason why people were so drawn to the shows I made was because I put Jesus in them. They were very Christian and stuff like that. I'm like, what? No, they weren't. Like, they very much didn't have, like, he would make up a story like, oh, people will come to me and say, I don't know why I was really drawn to your show. There was some reason why it is. And Butch's explanation would be, oh, it's because I had Jesus in it. That was what drew you to it. I'm like, that very much was not the reason why I watched Fairly Odd Parents or Danny Phantom. I guarantee you those were not the reasons why I watched those shows. By no fucking means. So it was so dumb that he would try to say that was the reason why. Because I'm like, where is the symbolism, bro? He was like, he said stuff like, I put Jesus in the show. I'm like, no, you didn't. You just made the fucking shows. That's it. I didn't see Jesus nowhere near there. unless he was like in the back, far in the background where he blended in and nobody could see him. But like, so that was just sort of a weird thing about it. And in the panel, keep in mind, this happened in February. He launched the Kickstarter like back in June, if I'm correct. He was talking about Oaxis and what it's supposed to be able to do, and from what the video revealed in the panel, the video of the panel revealed is that it's clearly going to have a lot of Christian overtones. Like, it's clearly going to be on the lines of like Christian indoctrination, it feels like, in a sense. And that's where it becomes concerning, because it's like, so is this service supposed to just be a Christian network? Like, all of the programming is just Christian based? Like, you do realize Christian media doesn't do that well in terms of like shows and TVs and movies. You know that, right? Like, they do poorly because a lot of people find it very boring. And like, it just made no sense the way it got to a bit of cult. It kind of got like cult, like, in a sense, like cult leaderish type of shit. Like, Pie Guy Rules and I Have Soul, they made a video talking about this. Like, they go into depth. They made multiple videos, like did streams and everything, talking about, you know, Butch Hartman and all that. I'll leave a link in the description to like their channels, just so you can find their videos of them talking about this stuff. But like, it's just real, but they're very much right in that he sounds like a cult leader, and because it's just bad the way he sounds. It's like, oh, Christian values, and we're going to protect the families. And I'm like, you're protecting them from what, man? There's like, oh, because there's some sex scenes in TV shows that are rated R for a reason. So fucking what? Like, he makes it seem like, and he's really trying to build up Oaxis like it's going to be this great holy thing that's going to, you know, take down Netflix and Hulu. I'm like, it's not, because the thing about the Kickstarter goal, he said the goal is 250,000. Right now, it recently got funded, obviously, and it's like, dude, Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon and all that are worth like millions, possibly billions of dollars right now. Like, you starting. And what's really bad is he didn't have a proof of concept for Oaxis. He just said, here's the name of it, and that's it. He never showed like a proof of concept. He never showed like a prototype of it to indicate, yes, this is what it's going to look like. This is how it's going to be and stuff like that. He just said, oh, these are all the different things that we're planning for it to do, but he didn't show how it's supposed to be able to do those things. Like he just said, this is what we're going to do. And that's it. Like I backed Kickstarters before, and I regretted it. I backed Mighty Number 9, fucking hated it. The fucking game was trash. I backed this game called Hover. It never came out on the other platforms. I wanted to get it for Xbox One. It never came out. I backed it back 2015, 14 or something like that. Game never came out for consoles at all. And there were only two other things I backed before that were, legitimate, that were actually legit. And one of them is the fidget cube. Like this little thing right here. I backed this. And the reason why is because in the video, they actually presented a prototype. They showed, yes, this is a physical thing. These are all the buttons and knobs and tricks and everything. They showed that this is a real thing. Like, they were willing to be transparent about it. Now, of course, it had some problems when the Kickstarter was running. Well, after the Kickstarter was going and they were in the development stages, it kept kind of getting delayed. But eventually, a product was made. They were at least being transparent with what they were doing. They were answering questions and letting people know, yes, we are doing this, we are building this. It is taking some time, but we are going to have these made. And lo and behold, here's the fidget cube. It's out on the market for everyone to be able to buy. They actually had a product to show. And the same thing, and this other Kickstarter back was Long Gone Gulch. It's mainly a Kickstarter to create a pilot. And in the presentation video, they showed like test animation. They showed, yes, there is a clear product here. Like even with Mr. Anders' Kickstarter, I haven't backed it, his Indiegogo campaign for his Growing Around series. He at least showed concept art. There's at least a physical product to be witnessed. He was transparent with it. He at least was like, here's all the scripts. If you want to read these things, granted you'll spoil it for yourself, but here are the scripts. Know that this is a real thing. He's at least being honest that this is what he's trying to do. He has a bit of a proof of concept, but with Butch, he didn't show anything. He was just like, this is what it's going to be able to do. This is all we're planning to do. Gardening shows, reality TV, which like reality TV, the fuck. And all this and that, and animations. And keep in mind, he never showed off like any actual TV shows he was planning to put on there. He didn't like mention any real shows, until like later on, until it was like 3 days out from the end of the Kickstarter. He was like, here are these three shows I plan on putting on Oaxis: Elf Detective, Imagination Nathan. And it was like a Mighty Danger Mouse or Mighty Mices or some shit, Power Mice something. All I don't know. Either it was a show he tried pitching to Cartoon Network, but it just didn't go through. Like he just has these three shows, and it's like, yeah, they're gonna be on Oaxis, and I'm just like, with your style of comedy, they're not exactly family friendly in a sense. Like the shows you made have a lot of hyper violence. So so it's like, where is your whole basis of this whole, TV is not family friendly as it used to be? I'm like, the hell are you talking? So that's the big disingenuous side of it. And it's really not bad with how he's selling it. Like, instead of being transparent, he constantly says, you trusted me with your childhood. Won't you trust me with your future? I'm like, Butch, you made two shows people liked, which ultimately by the end of it, people started to hate. Like seriously, man. Family Odd Parents started out pretty good. Then it went on too long and people got pissed off and were tired of seeing it. Danny Phantom was doing pretty good. Then the third season happened and people were like, okay, this got stupid. Especially with the finale of, with Phantom Planet. That was just some suck ass. So, and then he made Top Puppy, which, personally, I liked it. It was fine. but not many people flock to it. Then you make Bunsen is a Beast, and it's like, okay, you giving up. Like, I mean, yeah, I put it on my top 10 animated series of 2018's list, but I even admit it was just a placeholder. Like, I needed to fill in the space, so I'm like, you know, this was good enough, I guess. So here you go. So it makes the list just because, well, I just needed something to place. I just needed something for the number 10 spot. Like, seriously, that was... Like, he makes it seem like, yeah, I was a big part of your childhood. I'm like, you weren't. Fairly Odd Parents isn't even as iconic. Isn't even that iconic, you know? Like he really is just feeling... He just is an egomaniac. That's what he's basically become, and... Like, that's just what's bad. It's like, it reminds me so much of the quote from Dark Knight, you know, you either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, and that's the case here. Like, Butch Hartman has basically just become the villain, and it really got bad when it was like the night of the end of the Kickstarter. Like, it was like a few hours before the Kickstarter was ending. He did like a stream. And in the video, he made fun of this guy named Duelist Drew, and like he had this stupid phrase or statement he made that was like, "Oh, I don't take criticism from people who haven't really accomplished anything." I'm kind of paraphrasing here. I'll try to link to the video if it's still up. But he's like, I don't take criticism from people who haven't tried it, who haven't done anything, or just haven't done the things I've done, or anything like that, or something on those lines. And I'm just like, that's not how criticism works. And at the end of the day, you haven't really done much when it comes to streaming services. The most you made was the Noog Network, which nobody liked. Nobody gave a shit about it, and nobody really remembered, and not many people remember. I mean, they're remembering now just to point out the fact that you failed with this. So it's possible, you know, it's going to be a repeat of history, like this Oaxis thing is going to fail. That brought up, and the Noog Network brings up another thing. It's like, why didn't you, you know, just build up the Noog Network? Why didn't you rebrand it as the Oaxis? Like, you could have done that instead of deciding, here's a Kickstarter. And it's like, why didn't you just do that? And it's just bad, and it's really suspicious how he made a lot of the money, because like he managed to get five backers to pledge $10,000 each, and it's suspicious as hell because this happened like the day of the end of the Kickstarter, basically, or like the day of, or the day just before the end of the Kickstarter, and it's like, how did he get that? There was no way he managed to pull that. He should have been able to pull that off through a legitimate means. Like, it was weird. It was very weird that he managed to do that. So it's a bit of a sense of foul play. It sounds like some foul play is going on here. And what was really bad is like the prizes or the rewards for the Kickstarter, they're so egotistical. Like, most of them are like, hey, get this certain thing signed by Butch Hartman. Come hang out with Butch Hartman if you pledge this much. And he was like, oh, you'll be able to join my art academy for 3 lessons where I'll personally teach you the ins and outs of animation. I'm like, really? And it was like $10,000, or like it was $5,000 to get enrolled, and the most it is like a Skype call. It's not like, oh, you'll be personally flown out. And then they had like 2 $10,000 rewards. One, it's like, oh, you get a producer credit, so your name is slapped on. It's like, yeah, you're a producer for this because you pledged the most money. For fucking the other 10,000 is like, be an actor in our live action shows. Nobody pledged for that, thankfully, because it's like, yeah, if there's no return on product, that is going to be very shitty. And just as well, if the people can't act, you just hired a bunch of bad actors. And so yeah, it's thankfully nobody pledged on that front, but it's still bad. People still pledge $10,000 for the producer credit reward, and like, that's just what's so bad. It's so egotistical. It doesn't feel like a genuine thing that he's trying to do for the sake of oh, I just want to be in competition. I want to put out some good content, and I can't put out a lot of decent content through Netflix or Amazon and all that. So I'm just gonna make my own. But here it feels like you're making this cult-like shit based on Christianity and stuff, and he's not being upfront about it. He's not straight up saying yes, it's for Christianity. It's purely for Christianity. Like that's my thing. It's like, if this is just for if this is for Christianity and all that, why not just come out and say that? Like, why not say this is a Christian streaming service? It's gonna have Christian value shows and all that. Like, if you do that, fine. Like, perfectly fine. No one can get mad. It's like, well, he's saying it's for Christians and whatever. It's like, if that's what floats your boat, then go ahead, back it, watch that. I mean, the rest of us will stay on Netflix and Hulu and get all the good shit. We'll watch the actual good shows. Well, y'all can watch the boring stuff that has nothing, that doesn't really have much going on. like that's just such the big disingenuous thing about him. Like he just went so bad. And the thing about it, when on the stream, when he made fun of Duelist Drew, Duelist Drew himself actually, uploaded the clip where Butch Hartman made fun of him and insulted him with the whole criticism thing. It was so, Butch himself actually took it down. When you tried to look it up, he kept saying this has been taken down or it was blocked by an affiliate of Frederator. Not Frederator themselves, just in case you were wondering. Frederator aren't the ones who took it down. It was Butch himself, who is an affiliate of Frederator. That is what it is. But that's what's really bad. Even though Butch is an affiliate, I used to like the guy. He seemed like a cool person, but he fell from grace, man. It got bad for him. He just became this disingenuous egomaniac, and honestly, it feels like Oaxis is just going to be a big scam. It feels like if they're going to make a product, it's going to be shitty. It's going to be crappy. Full on crappy. There's not going to be anything worth watching. And the people who pledged all that money, I feel bad for them. I'm like, damn, that's rough. Y'all spend all that money for that streaming service. And keep in mind, it's supposed to be a paid streaming service. It's not free. So there's that little tidbit. It's if you back this, the question remains, how exactly do the people who backed it automatically get a lifetime membership? Say the 10 people who backed with $10,000, do they get lifetime memberships? If so, then okay. But if it's oh no, you paid that much, now you got to pay for the subscription, and it's yeah, there's a reason why people don't try to start. There's a reason why you don't try to create a streaming service through Kickstarter, because if you ain't promising the reward of you back it, you automatically, you're enrolled and you get the subscription. If you ain't doing that, then yeah, fuck off with bothering. So yeah, that's just my whole big takeaway, is that Butch, he's fell from grace. He's really becoming bad. He's become bad. His YouTube channel it's become known for just constant clickbait. He keeps trying to say, he tries to hold Danny Phantom hostage over people's heads, even though he can't do anything with Danny Phantom anymore. Nickelodeon owns Danny Phantom, and Butch Hartman left Nickelodeon. So if Danny Phantom's coming back, it's not happening with him. It's going to be through somebody else. It's going to be other showrunners and stuff like that. So I don't know why he tries to dangle that. It's would you maybe want to see more Danny Phantom? Because he kind of makes it, he tries hinting that Oaxis will have Danny Phantom. I'm it's not. I feel like Nickelodeon's just not about to sell that idea back to you, man. That's just what's gotten that. He's just become so bad, and he's really trying to play into that poisonous mindset of nostalgia, man. He tries saying, "See, I created your childhood," and it's you created 2 shows I really enjoyed as a kid. That's it. You didn't create my childhood. My childhood was something I personally experienced. Your shows might have been things I watched during my childhood, but they sure as hell were not my childhood. that's what's just, and that's what's bad. He just sounds so much like a cult leader. Like he majorly fell from grace. Like he was somebody a lot of people did look up to, but he just became this bad guy, and it's really bad, man. It's just become really bad. Like hopefully he learns, okay, you know what, I was wrong, this was stupid, I shouldn't have done all this just shouldn't have happened. But I don't know, like maybe Oaxis turns out to actually be good, have decent content and stuff like that, and it works out for people, maybe. Or maybe it becomes a flaming turd and everybody who backed it regrets it and probably tries suing the fuck out of him. I don't know how Kickstarter works if, say, a product ends up being shit. Like, I don't think anybody got sued for Mighty Number 9 being crap, because at the end of the day, they did give us the product. Like, we gave them more than what they were asking for, and they still gave us less than what we were asking for. Like, that's what happened with that. And so, all you can really do is hope that Oaxis doesn't turn out shit. But at the end of the day, I ain't holding my breath. It looks like this is going to be bad. It looks like Butch is just going to be a scam artist and just run out the back door with all the money. And that's just how I see it, honestly. If you like this video, leave a like, comment, make sweet love, that subscribe button. Also, consider donating to my Patreon. $1 can get you early access and your name at the end of every video. And also, if you pledge any more, you get to make requests of anything you want me to talk about in my simple vlogs video. Also, consider joining the Discord. Join the conversation, post memes, share news, and be able to talk with me whenever you want. And always remember, it's just a thought.